everyone. I'm Liz. I'm the current president of CrashSpace, and I'm here with a panel of lovely people to talk about the history of CrashSpace. It's been around for 10 years, and that's a long time, and so let's get into it. Should we go around and introduce ourselves and maybe tell everyone how long you've been with CrashSpace?
Sure.
I'll pick Carlin first.
Okay. Hi, my name is Carlin Ma, along with Sean Bonner, Mike Aspline, and Todd Group down there. I'm one of the 4, I guess, legal founders of CrashSpace. There are a lot of spiritual founders, including other people, Theron, who were there from the beginning. So 2009 is really, our doors opened really early 2010, but yeah, long time.
Should I go next?
Yes.
Are we going in order here?
Yeah, let's do that.
Clockwise.
Okay. Clockwise? Oh, okay, we're doing a clock thing. My name is Barb Noren. I make things. And I've been a member of Crash since 2014, I believe. When I met all of these lovely people. Well, most of these lovely people. I didn't meet Liz till after that. But and I've been involved in lots of parts of Crash. I've been membership chair, I've been on the board, I've been vice president. Yes, those things. That's me. What you drinking, Todd?
Red wine. Red wine goes good with video conferencing unless you spill it. I'm Todd. I'm also one of the original sort of legal founders that got hoodwinked by Mr. Sean Bonner into signing on the paperwork to actually get a lease on the original space, which is our current space for CrashSpace back in late 2009. And yeah, go CrashSpace. Wait, that's Jay's turn.
I'm Jay, and I like to make things that light up like this. And I'm also an avid instant photography buff. So those are my main interests. And I joined CrashSpace in about 2012 after looking around the mailing list for a while and seeing the amazing stuff that Mark and Wendy have been doing with flipbooks, and Steve, and thought, oh, this is right down the corner, so I should really go check it out. And I never left.
And hi, I'm Theron Trowbridge, and I've been a member of CrashSpace since 2009, late 2009. I missed the first meetup at Intelligentsia Coffee, but I think I was at all the subsequent ones, and then from the beginning. I've been, once we reorganized to become a nonprofit, I was the first president, and I've been on the board of directors since that point as well.
Awesome. Okay, so I have a few questions prepared, but hopefully this can be a fun conversation.
Liz, who are you?
Oh,
how long have you been? Yeah.
I'm Liz. I'm the current president. I've only been around since late 2018, so pretty much a newbie compared to you guys.
Only.
I like to
2
make
years
things. 2 years? I mean, yeah, it feels like a long time now. And I'm the president of, yeah, been on the board before. I don't know. CrashSpace is just an awesome place, and like, you can't really hang out for a long time and not to say volunteered, but like people are
Be volunteered.
encouraged. Yeah, heavily encouraged to participate. And I love CrashSpace, and I wanted to help make it, I mean, a better place. So being involved just made sense to me. Yeah, and because I've only been around 2 years, I'm curious what CrashSpace was like when you guys joined or when you founded it, and how it's changed over the years. It's questions for everyone, but.
Well,
Empty.
Yeah. In the first meeting, we all sat on the floor because there was no furniture in the space.
that's
There's a lot more stuff there now.
There's a lot more stuff. That was actually I was super anxious with Sean. We started on a very shoestring budget and with like no anything. And Sean just looked at me and he was like, you don't have to worry. Stuff will show up. In fact, the problem isn't going to be that we're going to have too little stuff. It's going to be that we have too much. And he was like, right on. So like me and my, like, how are we going to afford all these things? He was like, no, don't worry about it. Like,
That is accurate.
like, that's not how hackerspaces work. Like things show up and you can't make them leave. We sort of called it. You called it. I guess in terms of, I don't come to the space a ton anymore, being on the west side. So I think one of the things that's really great. East side. Well, the space is on the west side.
Oh, right.
Anyway, it's really great for me to see how I love it when I come and they're like new people that I've never met before. I'm like doing really interesting things, and the projects have evolved, and the rotating cast of characters keep it really exciting. And I love that we are a member-owned organization. That's something that we moved to being when we became a nonprofit. So the membership legally owns the organization, and so the current membership really is who decides what the organization is. And I think that's a really, really important part of our longevity.
When did we become a nonprofit? What year was that?
Yeah, it was like 2011, maybe 2012. Like, so the paperwork took a long time.
I was gonna say that's a process.
It is a process. But within a couple of years, I mean, one of our Sean, as I mentioned a little bit before, left the country shortly after we founded. So having 25% of the owners of the corporation be like not even in the country didn't make a lot of sense. So I was highly motivated to get our corporate structure changed, make sure it was in the hands of the membership and stuff like that. So
that was mostly all Carlin. I remember because I was really reluctant to do all the paperwork.
It's not all of us are paperwork people.
Yeah,
Carlin is good at that stuff.
No, and my mom might have a heart attack to hear anyone call me a paperwork person, but I was the least unwilling to do the paperwork.
That's how these things happen.
I saw Levi commented 2013. We got our IRS determination letter in December of 2013.
Perfect.
Well, we said 2012.
We filed the paperwork mid 2012.
Oh,
So it took about 18 months to get the letter.
Levi would be one of the people to ask, being a former longtime secretary, right?
And he hosted us at Wildwood School when we had our first annual meeting. Where
I didn't know that.
Signed all the paperwork and did all that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When I got to Crash Space, somewhere in the middle of its lifetime, there was a good mix of folks around, and it was just the story I always say is like I went to the first thing. Oh, Carlin brought me. Carlin brought me because that way, yeah. We worked together at this pop-up thing, and then she's like, "Hey, there's this hackerspace. You should come." And I came to a party, and they were making ice cream with, liquid nitrogen, and no one said a thing about the Kardashians, and I'm like, "This is my people."
Wait, the bad guys in Star Trek?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then everybody was just very friendly and supportive, and like, "Oh, what are you working on? That's interesting. Tell me more." So.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of membership is just through word of mouth. Like I came to Crashbase because I worked with a bunch of people that were also Crash members. So I'm always surprised when I would hang out at Crashbase and people would just walk in off the street because they like Googled it or found out about it. I was like, wait, someone didn't tell you about this? You just sought it out yourself and found it and just showed up? It's so cool.
You just came here of your own free will?
Yeah. Jay, how did you find out about it?
Like I said, it's. I mean, I live about a mile away, so it was like easy to Google, and like I found the Flipbook Kickstarter, and thought that was super cool, and then in the story they were like, oh, and we went to Crash Base and a lot of the members helped us like work the prototyping, and I just thought, wow, these are really cool people. Oh wow, this is like not quite walking distance, but close enough. I should really go. And then I think Theron was sending out the meeting notes at that point. So like I kept looking at the meeting notes for a while, then finally I said, this is getting ridiculous. I need to like actually get there. And I showed up at, I think it was like it was like the 3D printer class.
Okay.
Is I think what I ended up showing up at, and realized, okay, this like I'm really interested in this, and I like this was completely worth it, and they had me completely hooked at that point.
That's so funny that you like attended virtually before that was even a thing. Like, you were just looking at the notes.
I was gonna say, if we had our current level of virtual programming, then you may never have actually come.
I you know, it really was. It was that 101, the 3D printing thing that got me hooked, because I was really looking for more, and I was looking for more. It had been something that it had interested me for a few years before that, and I just really didn't know how to get started. So it was a really great way to do that. So, and my background was I had been a software engineer up until about 2010. So when I joined in 2012, it had been like a year or two since I'd stopped. So a lot of the software tool chain for printing is, or the tool chain for printing is very like, it's one half mechanical and one half software. So that made it really, it made it easy for me to start working on it. And it was a lot of fun. And there were always interesting people popping up. So that was also a lot of fun too.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts about Crashbase is just the shared tools and obviously the shared knowledge of people. But like before Crashbase, I had never used a 3D printer. I don't know that I've ever seen a 3D printer. I'd certainly never used a laser cutter. But like you just show up and there's just all these tools and there's people ready and willing to show you how to use them. That's a great picture.
Wow, was that Theron and Brian?
Yeah, that was
So speaking of 3D printers, one of the things that made me think that Crashbase kind of made it was like the summer of 2010. We had this handmade music event where Theron arranged this trio of MakerBots singing, and and like Mark Fraunfelder from Boing Boing showed up, and like all these other people had like made all this like cool handmade music stuff. But it was just like, it was like this cool event that we were doing really cool technology. We were doing art, and it was very unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. And I was like, yeah, this is the place.
Yeah, the MakerBot on the left is the one that Crashbase bought pretty early on. And the one in the middle, I think that was, I don't remember whose that was. That may have been
Sean's?
It was maybe. I don't know. And then the one on the right was there's a San Diego nonprofit called New Blankets that had loaned us a couple. So yeah, so we got this thing that you had a composer that created a piece of music that was designed to be played on these three MakerBots using the stepper motors. So we took the MIDI score that he put together and ran it through a little Python script that generates G code that we loaded onto the three MakerBots. So we had three laptops there, and we were all like, 1, 2, 3, go. And it was kind of interesting. Daryl has some video footage of the.
Oh, right on.
Oh my gosh!
It was so great because like you know, if you ever heard any of these 3D printers or laser cutters, whatever move, they kind of, the servos, the steppers kind of sing songs as they move their little heads around, and it just kind of seems like, yeah, surely you could make music with this. And then someone did it.
Right. And
like now I've seen people like, there's like, you know, I think online gizmos, you can just like load up a mario.mid file and it'll like spit out code for your Prusa or whatever. But back then it was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And they sound especially pretty when you print circles.
Yes.
You've got multiple steppers going at the same time. So one of my RPM challenge records was me printing a crash chip, a little 3D printed thing that I designed, and I recorded it printing that. I put a contact mic onto one of the motors and recorded playing it, and then I took that and stretched it out so it was like 45 minutes long.
Nice.
That's so cool. That's like the ultimate crash space example, right? Like it's art and it's technology and it's coming together and just hacking it into something really cool.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, and the contact mic, we had a workshop with I think it was Moldover came and taught us how to make contact mics.
Yep.
And so the contact mic that I made at that workshop is what I used to record the music.
That wasn't the one with Katya, was it?
No. Hers wasn't a contact mic. It was a regular condenser mic.
Yeah.
What's a contact mic?
It physically contacts the thing and records vibrations.
Okay.
So a lot of times where it gets used in music typically is as a pickup for oh, there we go. Oh, it was not Moldover. That's right. It was a different group. So
they came in from out of town. They were doing a traveling tour of hackerspaces, teaching people how to do bottle cap contact mic.
And so they used 2 actual plastic bottle caps for 2-liter bottles to make the body to house all the connections, the plug and whatnot. And then they used a regular bottle cap with the piezo elements glued in place to make the actual thing. And then they coated the whole thing with rubber material so that it would be waterproof, and you could actually stick it in a thing of water and freeze it, and then record the ice melting, which is a particularly interesting sound. Or you could, stick it in boiling water and record that.
Yeah, that was what was really neat to me, is that like to me, microphones are like these delicate, precious things. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna stick this in the toilet and then record what it sounds like, because I always wanted to hear what it sounded like to be inside the toilet or whatever,
Yeah, typically contact mics are put inside the body of a guitar, so you can record an acoustic guitar with an electric signal. But once you have a plug-in contact mic, you can record all kinds of crazy things, and the world sounds different when you're actually recording the vibrations.
That's cool.
Yeah, very true.
So I'm curious if any of you had been members of other maker spaces or hacker spaces before, and what do you notice is different about Crash Space, or the same? Are they all the same?
But there weren't really that many spaces before Crash Space, right? I mean, there's.
So I'm from the East Coast, and actually I learned about Crash Space because I was at a party and was talking to someone, and it was like, where the fuck are the hacker spaces? Where the heck are the hacker spaces in Los Angeles? Because I was from New York, and they were much more important. I think, for example, LA Resistor. I went to a grad school that was fundamentally a hackerspace, the NYU telecommunications program. Actually, part of why Sean had brought me in was because I had been the shop manager as a resident researcher. I helped make sure the students got trained, that the ART bins were full, stuff like that as part of my residency there. And in New York, it's really important maybe to have a third space where tools can be, because you can't have them in your apartment. Mm-hmm. And the whole hackerspace movement was really started with the Chaos Computer Club conferences in Germany. And the first one was in DC, Hack DC, and NYC Resistor was soon after. And when I got to LA, I was sort of looking for one. And I was at a party at the Machine Project, and now closed not-for-profit, where I met Jerry Isdale, who told me about Sean, and that's how I met them. And I actually met Todd at that party as well. So I had to experience with NYC Resistor. So I came to LA and was explicitly looking for a hackerspace and couldn't find one. So
yeah, and NYC Resistor would have been one of the few in the US before we opened. Yeah,
Machine Project. I really wish Machine Project still existed, because it was a really amazing institution. It was around for over a decade as well, and it wrapped up, I think, maybe 2-3 years ago. And it was mostly.
Can you tell us what it is? Yeah.
It was mostly an art gallery, but it was run by a guy who would hold classes. Who would get other people in the community to hold classes. And so I taught an Arduino class, or 2 Arduino classes, in 2006 and 2007, back when Arduino was brand new thing. And that was not a like that class was not a weird thing for a machine project. It was kind of like the kind of things you would do. And so it was kind of almost a proto hackerspace in a way, but there wasn't any sort of membership. It was very much just here's an art gallery run by this guy, and he has weekly art shows by various local weird tech artists, but he also does all this other weird stuff. And so around 2008 or so, me and him and this other guy were trying to figure out, oh, hey, there's this thing called a hackerspace. Let's try to make one in LA. And we could never decide where to put it because LA is very spread out. Mm-hmm. And there's all these little regions that are kind of like isolated in some ways. And so we just kind of gave up because we could never really decide. I was like going, let's say Pasadena. And he's like, no, it's got to be down near Echo Park. And the other guy was like, no, it should be in Venice. And so we all just kind of gave up. Whereas the benefit of Sean Bonner was that he's like, it's going to be in Culver City. It's got to be right where the 10 and the 405 meet, because then we'll get a chance to get some of the people from the West Side to come over. Like if we can maybe get them a couple blocks east of the 405.
Yeah, he found the building. He found the building.
Yeah, he found the building, and it was a pretty good idea. Like I was thinking about like warehouse spaces out in the middle of nowhere, which would be great for square footage, but it's horrible for amenities. Like the nice thing about Crash Space is you can just take a minute, walk 10 minutes down to the taco place or the
not even 10.
Exactly.
Yeah. Man, that's close.
Yeah, there's like all these places to go get stuff. You know, there's the army surplus place down the street if you need like random materials, even so.
It is a good location.
Space.
Yeah,
it's small but good.
Not great for parking, but.
Yeah. But hilarious though is Sean was specifically looking in Culver City because there's a different legal framework for being a business in Culver City, and so our postal code is in Culver City. But we found out, much to our detriment, legal detriment, later that we're in this little niblet of Venice Avenue that actually belongs to LA. So we actually didn't pay our LA city taxes for a little while because we thought we were in Culver City. Like we didn't know that we were a business in LA. We thought we were a business in Culver City, and that took some undoing.
Doesn't Culver City like start like in the middle of the alley right behind us?
Yeah, and so even though our post office is the Culver City post offices for business tax purposes, we are in the city of LA. So that's
I would love to know. I'd love to know the history behind this weird cutout. It's basically there's like Venice Boulevard, and then it goes dunk 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 for like half a block or whatever, and like we were right in the middle of that little cutout.
I don't know. Everything's different now.
But to go back to your question, I think it seems like a lot of the focus that we do at Crash Space, it's art and music. It's certainly not all that, but I mean, I think when I first came, there was a lot of the coding workshops were happening weekly, and there was a lot more focus on trying to do things, at least for me, that were interesting, that were things that weren't necessarily something that I would do in my day job.
Mm-hmm. A lot of that was Alex. A lot of that was Alex.
Yeah.
Alex shaped a lot of it. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I have another little set of images to share.
Let's see.
So this event we're currently doing is very much related to me, at least, to the Crash the Planet art show that Alex sort of curated, where they cleaned up the entire space. They
painted the walls.
Painted all the walls. Yeah. Like actually whipped up into shape to clean up the space and make it look presentable. Yeah. And then all this amazing art ended up happening. And it was just really delightful to see the space both clean and full of full of stuff that was kind of already in the space, but you never would have known it.
Some of it was in the space, but yeah. There's a video of it near the entrance of this gallery space. That's right. We had chairs set up outside.
Yeah,
there was no space inside.
Yeah, and again, people would just walk by and go, "Hey, what's this?" And then they just come and they see all the art, and it was really fun.
It was a lot of fun.
So yeah, Crash the Planet, lots of good art. Check this out on our Flickr stream. Which the Crash Cam is another awesome thing that I wish we had.
We're talking about a replacement for it.
Oh, very good.
It's gonna happen.
So yeah,
The crash
anyway.
cam for those. Yeah, we had a camera that would hang around the space that was connected to it, like it would automatically wirelessly send pictures to our Flickr.
Darren, you were one of the maintainers of the crash cam.
Yeah, I got the initial camera itself and the Wi-Fi card, the MiFi card, and it was a sad day when they nixed the support for that.
It's true, but now Brett and Jay have plans.
Oh, good.
They has plans.
We do? Oh, yeah.
Bringing it back. Yeah, you do.
First, it takes a Polaroid. Then it scans the Polaroid. Then it faxes the Polaroid.
Is there a pterodactyl in a box somewhere in this plan?
That's a little too analog.
I don't know. That sounds kind of cool. Maybe we just need a pterodactyl hanging from the
Does
ceiling.
anyone read Terry Pratchett? Terry Pratchett Discworld books,
Sometimes.
and there's a little
Yeah.
imp in a box that's drawing the pictures. Yeah. Pterodactyl in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember looking at the video of the art show from a few years ago because I remember, Barb, when you announced the idea, or not announced the idea, but you were like, oh, we should do another art show for 10 years.
We are doing an art show, damn it.
And we had all these plans of like, oh, we'll like set up space on the sidewalk and we'll like, basically just do what we did like a few years ago. And then COVID happened and then we just couldn't do that. So it's amazing that we're still having an art show. It's virtual and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So good job, Barb.
Barb.
Good job, everybody.
Barb.
And bringing in the Fun-A-Day people is great because we have a much wider range of people and different types of stuff than we would have otherwise had.
For sure. Yeah, that's one of the cool things with, like, okay, Crash Space is already pretty diverse of weirdness. Like, we got a lot of different kinds of random tools, like nerd tools. Like we've got all the electronics stuff, and we got folks who nerd out on that and do circuit boards and whatnot. We've got the 3D printers and folks who make really interesting things with those. Many of whom were very much part of the whole. Am I jumping ahead to like this last year when we did the COVID, when we were 3D printing a whole bunch of stuff for COVID response? We've got like the CNC and the laser cutter and a shed in the back with like all the tools that make all the sawdust, which those are my babies. But
that is the wood shop, isn't it?
Yeah,
it was supposed to be the metal shop, but we've ended up
that never happened.
More woodwork than metalwork on those tools.
Mm-hmm.
And like all of the shelves have like all kinds of different things on them. So like there's a kiln. And there's a planer, and there's like you just gotta pull the things off the shelves and use them.
Little sandblasting box.
Yeah,
like, there's all sorts of random stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but like we've got musicians, and we have artists, and we
Also in
have
the shed.
engineers. Also in the shed. Everybody is in the shed. We painted it early, got that out of the way. Bike shedding.
I forget what color is the shed.
E-crew.
Yes. All the color.
I don't know what color is the shed.
Looking awful late.
Rainbow.
Okay, I think our Minecraft one has the right color, but I don't remember the Minecraft version of Crash Space.
There's a correct color. Fascinating.
Yes, because before building a gallery, I built Crash Space in Minecraft.
Oh, that's excellent. Maybe we should have a walkthrough for that during this whole art show thing. A
It's
Minecraft
not really
walkthrough.
Fancy, awesome. But yeah, no, it is excellent to bring because there is always like a heavy, there tends to be a heavy tech angle on a lot of what folks do at Crash. Not everything, but it plays a role, and it's cool to get like. Just because I think part of the strength of it is having a variety of folks with a variety of skills and knowledge sets. So like getting to pull like all these different people in, so we can just like interact and make cool things together and collaborate.
Totally.
Yep.
And like somehow we've managed to like build a community of people who are like all nice to each other. Like I don't think I've ever encountered anyone who was like you don't know how to do this? Like, you don't know how to do this? Like, no, everyone is like super cool and like willing to share knowledge and like willing to show you how to use the tools and not hurt yourself, which is super important.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, we could always be better at that, though. I remember random people would come in, and I'm like deep in some problem in the front room of the space. They're like looking around aimlessly. I'm like, oh dang it, I don't want to deal with them right now. I'm kind of in my brain.
Oh. Do we have more questions?
Yeah, we can talk about what do we want to see in the future at CrashSpace. Obviously, we're virtual now. We're doing a lot of virtual events. I think we like doing those, and we'd like to continue doing those. Do any of you guys have ideas on what we can do in the future?
Do you want to talk about that, Theron? The virtual that eyebrow suggests and Sai suggests no. Do you want me to talk about it?
I mean, obviously, we need to figure that out, and that's going to take input from a lot of people. And one nice thing about the COVID response, we made a lot of community relationships due to the COVID response. We had a church down by the airport where they gave us like their rec hall for us to go in and set up and do all the assembly of the face masks and the shields and all that, and staging everything. And they were really helpful, and that was partly through one of the city council members, I believe. And we also established a pretty good relationship with Monoprice, who donated like 20 3D printers to the effort. And so actually one of them was right there behind Barb.
Right there.
We got nice sort of discounts from organizations like, Matter Hackers and Pasadena. And so we're hoping to sort of leverage that and sort of expand our reach a little bit. And we've always been interested in helping out other organizations with their events. So we've done events at like, Maker Faire and the 20 Wonder. We went and did a thing at one of their events. And one of our members, Chris, has when his kids were in grade school, they would do like a science fair, and we'd go and like show off there. So those sorts of things I think are very much a part of our sort of community outreach.
I'd also love to see us address some of the, I mean, we do outreach, and it's something as an organization that I think is really important, and technical outreach. And as we're moving into our sort of second year of remote stuff being more important, thinking about the digital divide and the digital divide in Los Angeles. For us in Pasadena, we in a lot of ways can participate much more easily in CrashSpace events, but we also have excellent internet. So we can, afford to pay the monopoly cable company what we need to pay in order to get access to the high-speed communication network. And I think through talking about data protocols, which is a pretty low-level topic, a hackerspace community is in a unique position to both like intrigue people with your LEDs, but then by the end of it, you're like, oh, and I can flash a light, and more like that's fiber optics. Like you can pull people in. So I don't think of our sort of like seemingly less technical work as it's sort of like almost like, oh, but see, this is just the beginning. And I think as a hackerspace, we can bring the conversation to people who are not as technically competent as like maybe a lot of people here are, to talk about some of the policy issues that allow for all these school children who need to use the internet. Like we can't go in person to these schools right now, and a lot of these students then can't participate in online education because they're like in a Taco Bell parking lot. Like that's our LA. So what can we do in sort of this new phase, like post needing to 3D print PPE? Like what can we do as technology professionals to really be creative but be really more digitally inclusive of the whole LA community?
Sean, if you're watching, put that on the agenda. for next week.
But like, actually, that's such a good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. No, and it is also a good point because, like, you know, Theron and I have been talking, and other people too, about, like, we've been talking for a long time about getting, like, you know, more of the, making it easier to participate from a distance.
Right.
But that's something that's kind of been easy enough to put off until the world flipped upside down.
Right.
And then all of a sudden that's the only option. So we got, you know, real good, real quick at you know, doing events online and setting up all these things. Everybody's done amazingly at getting us, you know, moving quick with that. But yeah, it has an unanticipated, that's the word, unanticipated side effect of having some of our past members who haven't been able to attend because they are, you know, on the other side of the country or in another country or equally far in Pasadena, participate more. Y'all, LA traffic is real. Not right now, but
Yeah.
like, so it's like we're
now.
Yeah. No, but we're like, okay, we have to maintain this to a certain, you know, we have to be able to continue this because there are real benefits to it. But there are also, obviously, as Carlin's pointing out, real limitations because, like, it's not everybody. And it's
what can we do as like part of the LA community and like staying involved as a real community member of the LA community, and like what can we do to help improve communication infrastructure, like just the conversation around it. I know at Crash Space we've seen wonderful projects about point-to-point internet transmission and things like that, sort of like, so making sure that we are, because, you know, as someone who has been an internet professional since the late 90s, I care a lot about the internet community, and it hasn't been its best self always, and sort of figuring out how we can help both from a point of view of like actual how the infrastructure gets engineered and what we do on it, and what role can Crash plays.
Right.
Crash plays.
Crash
plays.
Crash Space can
cheers.
Well, some of the relationships that we forged have been with sort of local government, right? So I'm hoping that we can, because they have to worry about all their residents because they all have to go to school, and right now school means a computer, and not everybody has a computer to spare, especially when parents might be working from home and they need it for that. And if they got several kids in different grades, it's really a messy situation. So I'm hoping that we can find a way in those things to sort of help guide that conversation a little bit, and maybe find some uses for some of the technology that some of our members have been playing with, you know, like low cost computing, like Raspberry Pi, as a way of building low cost internet devices that, you know, kids can use to attend their classes and other social events.
Toads. Yeah, I really liked. I'm really bummed we're not able to do things like that LACMA robot thing that a bunch of Crash people, like including Carlin and Levi and stuff.
And Alex.
Yeah, it like this is like 2015, 2016, I don't know, but it was like, oh, let's teach a bunch of random people who don't know anything about technology how to make little simple robots. And I only saw it from pictures. I wasn't there, but was it on like a LACMA free day even?
Yeah, they had us set up. So Levi, and it was really Alex that sort of pushed us on this, and Levi and I think that's right. We had this like really grand plans from building this like LA community art interface, basically, where you could like see art in all parts of the city. We ended up making drawbots. Like, we totally misunderstood like what the brief was. It was hilarious. It worked out really well. It was really yeah, we made it up. Drawbots, for those of you who don't know, is you put weighted motor, like a pager motor, but bigger, sometimes just a pager motor on a upside down solo cup with pens attached, 3 pens sticking out the bottom of it. And that wobbling movement makes the little robot draw on these big pieces of paper. So this was really like, so that's what we ended up doing. Little like, we were like, this, and they were like, this is for like children.
but see that kind of interaction where we come in with the stuff we know and can do, and we partner with an organization that knows how to handle people well, which LACMA no LACMA's all about like flowing people through a space and dealing with them and all that kind of ticketing or whatever.
I've never before heard someone call it an art institution good with people, but I love it. I love it.
Well, we are talking about a hackerspace here, so
yeah, I mean, sorry, relatively compared to Crashspace.
Nerds.
Yes. So instead of trying to recreate government or art institutions, partnering with somebody who knows how to do that kind of stuff. It was my point. Blush.
Yeah, Theron, you've done a lot of our outreach. You were been really like good about taking, like you helmed our Maker Faire booth, and like you were like there for it. Like anytime there was a school who wanted us to have a booth or do something, you've been really amazing.
Yeah, and also that New Blankets, that San Diego nonprofit, I've got a good relationship with the fellow who runs that, and he's got some nice relationships with like the Boys and Girls Clubs. So we've done events at like local Boys and Girls, mostly down San Diego, doing things like making bristle bots with kids and showing them a 3D printer so that when they get the idea that when they lose a couple pieces from their Monopoly game, they don't have to throw it away and hope that they can buy another one, but instead, they can make their own and they can make it different. And then also the Lafayette Free Library on the East Coast, I went out there when they launched their makerspace in their library. We went out and had the kids one side of the room designing objects in Tinkercad. Or no, 3D tin, I think it was. And then they gave us the objects and then we would print it and they could take it home. And getting at kids young with the notion that all this stuff is possible, that the world is, they can make it what they want, I think is a really important thing. It's the kind of virus that we want. Getting that notion in people's heads at a young age. So I think it's an important part of what we do.
That's what I really like the way at Crashspace, I think people used to be like, can we bring our kids? And it's sort of like, well, if you don't care if they die, then sure. Like in our actual physical space, like this was particularly in the early days, like, yeah, like we don't guarantee the safety of your child. And you're like this is not a place for children. And yet we all care deeply about future minds. And so we are very willing to do outreach. I think there was the dog question too. Again, like I love dogs. You don't vacuum that often. Like, be careful. Like, if you're gonna, it's not a no, but it's like probably not in your best interest.
Maybe take your dog to the vet immediately afterwards.
Like, if you want your like toddler, probably not a great haul. Like people swear here, like we say things. But
there's solder on the ground.
Yeah. Well, the fact that Crashspace isn't K through 12 friendly though doesn't mean its membership doesn't care about.
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
Barb, how are we on time?
Probably got time for another like one quick question.
Okay, last question. Gonna leave it on this is, what's your favorite memory at Crashspace? I know we've talked a lot, but if you had to pick one.
I know mine.
Then you can go first. Everyone else is thinking.
I gotta share a screen again. So I forget exactly who came up with this idea, but it was called something like storefront. Oh yeah, sorry, storefront music. where people made all these crazy musical instruments, no, that's not it, and essentially made like a sort of like the front of our space became this little showcase for these weird little technology music things, and they sat in the windows and they were run off car batteries. And this is like something that Carlin and somebody else designed. It was like a solenoid with a striker,
A thwacker.
Thwacker. Yeah, it was driven partially by Maximus P.
It was a real group project.
Yeah. So it's like beating ceramic pots in an old disused PC case.
Yeah, we have a portable one in our garage. If Crashbase ever wants it back, let me know.
I still regret that I missed this because like I'm all about the instruments and I missed
bottles
this
and
before my time.
Yeah, so let's go back to the front picture here. Where's it at? So yeah, plus we had just gotten the cool Crashbase sign, and it just made the space look so cool from the outside. It was just like, yeah, check us out, we're real. So that's one of my favorite memories of Crashbase.
That's awesome.
Making random noise.
It wasn't random.
We've taken the ultrasound sensors out front, which I think Michael Clive helped a lot with those.
Mm-hmm.
The little ultrasound sensors inside the little PVC tube.
As you would walk by.
As you walked by, it triggered the different whackers. And I think Garcia, did the CAD model for cutting out we really made the whacker design sing. And we made a portable version that ended up being in an art gallery show, the name of which started with a C. But we have it in our garage. If Crashbase ever gets a bigger space and wants it on their wall, let me know. We've got portable thwackers on a pegboard and pots, and it's up home. Yeah, that was a pretty good memory. I might draft off of yours and be like, that was a good time. Good time. Although I think I said it earlier. I'm going to be cheesy here, but like my favorite memories are the ones that haven't happened yet. I'm just so invigorated because like I'll go and I'll like spend like weeks or months not paying much attention to what's going on currently at Crashbase, and then I like poke my head in, and it's always amazing. So yeah.
Carlin, I'll show you where the snacks are in the space because clearly you have the cheese tray.
Okay, I used to like stock the snack anyway.
Yeah. I think it's a great answer. Don't let Barb bully you.
It's wonderful. It's a wonderful answer. I am just.
How about you, Jay?
Oh gosh. Can you ask someone else? I'm still thinking.
That's okay.
I think my favorite memory was when we got the MakerBot to actually print something the first time. Because it just seemed like this miraculous device. Because I had never seen one before, and it took like 6 of us 2 weeks to put it together. It was kind of ridiculous, but then when I actually got it to print something, and that first print looks like utter crap, but it printed, and that was kind of amazing.
I would say either. Well, the last art show was pretty excellent. This art show is pretty excellent. I would say either just spending time in the shed with turning wood into sawdust, or back when Instructables used to do these build nights, and they would send out sets of tools, and we would have events, and people could come in and just we could try them and just mess with them and do interesting things with new toys. Those were pretty great.
Totally.
I can't choose one favorite.
I think I'm ready. I can narrow it down to 2. So
okay.
I really enjoyed the meetups. So when I first started at Crashbase, it was Learn to Code with Us. I always liked those because I never knew who was going to come in and need some help. And for some reason, I seem to be the person that knew about Arduino. So if anyone ever had any questions about that, Alex would say, "Oh, Jay knows how to do that." So that was always just fun, just randomly meeting people who would just pop in for code clinics. And then I would say I really also enjoyed the 3D printer meetups, especially when I first got to CrashSpace, because there were like people building their own Delta bots, and just like everything, and like people who had printer bots, but they like custom modded them, and a few replicators, and it was amazing to me that all of these people were doing all these different things to these printers, which were pretty miraculous to me. So
it's a great answer. So Barb, should we wrap it up?
We should probably wrap it up at this point. Yeah. But yeah, this has been great. Yeah, we could talk forever. We could talk for a long time. Yeah, for sure.
So one of my quick favorite sort of ambient memories of CrashSpace is just going in to CrashSpace at a random time for whatever reason, and there's all these little Polaroids from the time we go that Jay takes, and then just like puts them around the space of just like random events. So it's sort of like this analog version of the crash cam, but it's always people. It's like whenever I use the crash cam, I just took pictures of projects. So my pictures are pretty soulless, but his are always of people. So it was like, oh, that guy, that lady. So yeah, we lost Jay.
We lost Jay.
No,
Polaroid.
because they're not just scattered throughout CrashSpace; they're scattered throughout my condo. So
look at that.
Nice.
Aww.
Is that Barb and Nick?
Metal.
It's Barb and Metal.
Metal, yeah. Nice.
Barb is off to the next event.
Yeah.
Bravo, Barb. And thank you, Liz, for hosting this. Like, it's you've been flicked into a lot of things lately.
This has been very fun.
For doing this. You did a great job, and I love that your new blood is invigorating our future.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Sure,
It's great talking to you guys.
Yeah. Yay. Hooray for 10 plus years of Crash. Hooray for
Woot, woot.
Ooh,
10 plus more.
10 more. 10 plus more. Here's for us being better able to recognize our actual 20th anniversary instead of this one.
Fuzzy numbers are good. Then.
I think we should just
Here's
count
to the
in.
next pandemic.
Yeah, we should just count in base 11 going forward.
I like it.
I like it. That's good.
Like it.
So, yes, thank you for tuning in for the Crash Space panel. We're going to have our next talk by Emily Velasco in about 6 minutes. So hang around for that.
Excellent.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.